is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here, Dean7904, joined by Bobby Gomes. It's a 4-gamer. We can kind of relax and pace ourselves and take our time breaking this down until we hand this off to the Crunch Time crew, which, of course, takes you all straight up the lock. What's up there in the old YouTubes? Hit that like button, please. We'd appreciate that. Subscribe. Appreciate that as well. Get those notifications so you know when we go live. Bobby, we just got the news. We were talking about a pre-show briefly. Porzingis. Kristaps Porzingis is not going to have his revenge game. He's been ruled out, as well as backup center, one of their backup bigs, Taj Gibson. Bradley Beal, of course, also ruled out for Washington. It's kind of a sprint slate too, right? We're looking at 4 games, and the latest game starts at 8 o'clock. The earliest game starts at 7 o'clock. So you only have so much time for figuring out if you're doing well or not and pivoting. Should say hello. And this is we didn't have a lot of value today. We're going to get some value.
We have it now, definitely.
Yeah, it's starting to open up, and there's still some potentially some stuff maybe with Portland. We got some questionable body parts there as well. Lillard already announced, and some other guys that are up in the air in the back-to-back for them. But I don't know how good the value is. But yeah, we're going to be playing guys like Daniel Gafford and Denny Avdia, and maybe some Hachimura and some Barton and the Wizards guys in general. They're all really cheap. Kuzma, of course, the most expensive. But yeah. How are things? How are things in your world?
They're good. It's nice to get all this news now. We were looking at Maxi Kleber chalk, so that now we have more solidified value, so that's always good. The Daniel Gafford, I think Daniel Gafford just becomes a stone cold lock. You're taking out Taj Gibson as well, so there are minutes there. Bunch of these Wizards, like you said, you hit on Rui, Will Barton, Kuzma, all these guys come into play pretty significantly. And it's definitely different from when we started at noontime today.
Yeah, I was writing today earlier in the survey, for frame members, and I was, it's a 4-game slate, so there's only so much you can hide, especially when you're a stud. But we had, at the time, Luka was projected to be 17% owned because he's significantly higher than everybody else in the slate. He's 12.5K, I believe, on both Fanduel and Draftkings, and it's just we didn't have a lot of value to make it work. And he wasn't hitting optimals. I was running optimals at 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, but now I think it'll be a little bit easier to get him, and we'll have that conversation. But I thought it was an interesting tournament play on a 4-gamer. It's wow, Luka's going to be 20% owned. 4 out of 5 people are not going to have him. But again, salary is a real thing, and it was really tight earlier, and curious to see how it opens up. I've not done anything just yet, but I think that this will give Luka more easier access, as well as guys like Embiid and Trae Young, and just the whole trickle down effect on the entire.
I was of the same thought process as you. Was people are not going to play Luka, so I wrote up Luka a little bit. Now he's going to be more owned, obviously, but still a 4-game slate, and we know Luka's usage is through the roof in this offense. So.
What's up in chat? Derek wants to know if Portis had value yet. Yeah, Bobby Portis, man. What a wild. He had 19 overtimes. He still couldn't get there. Yeah, that was a weird one. I didn't get a chance to watch much of that game. I was doing the football show with Daigle and Rebar, but I caught some of the overtime. But, man, on yesterday's show, if you guys watched yesterday's show, myself and Andre with 12, 13 games, we both said our favorite game was playing SGA with, some of those Milwaukee guys. So, I had some good lineups. My best lineup was ruined by Trent. It didn't quite get there. It was a profitable day. But, if you had SGA, ran back with Carter and, Lopez, basically anybody not Portis didn't destroy you, but it wasn't good, obviously. It did destroy you. You weren't good. It would have been an incredible fate from Bobby Portis yesterday. Well, how did you handle him? I'm curious because I basically lock buttoned him.
I did not play NBA yesterday. I had my kid pretty much all day. My girlfriend had a work thing, so was not in on the Bobby Portis situation.
Well, you missed out. Smelling the roses. There was no Giannis. There was no Middleton. There was no Holiday. And, you figured Portis is the guy that's going to smash. And, yeah, I don't know if you took a peek back as far as what happened or what went down as far as Milwaukee. But, yeah, the Milwaukee players, it went double overtime as well. So, and SGA crushed. Any event. This is Daily Fantasy Sports. We care about today and today only. Who cares about yesterday? Let's talk about today. Screenshot as far as today. What are we still waiting for? We got Lillard ruled out on the back half of a back-to-back. Christian Wood ruled out for Dallas. That's one of the reasons why earlier today Maxi Kleber was one of the value plays, and I guess he still is. We'll see. We'll see where that lands coming off the bench. PJ Tucker doesn't play, a significant DFS role, but he plays a fair bit of minutes. He's questionable. Some Miami guys are questionable. Tyler Hero and Caleb Martin. If those guys sit, we're talking about Max Strus. If they both sit, Gabe Vincent or Robinson get elevated to some degree. And then Portland, the hammer game, back half of the back-to-back. Yesterday, Jeremy Grant didn't play. Yesterday, Nurkic didn't play. They're both questionable tonight in New Orleans. Already ruled out Dame Lillard. Anything else you have to say that's worth noting that we're monitoring, or as far as like a screenshot in this entire slate? I'm trying to wait to see if our projection team is going to update that Washington game, which we're going to dig into first. They're probably kind of ready for it, but we'll see. I want to see if we get a difference in our projections and see what they're looking at. But I imagine, like we talked about, there's going to be some value guys popping up on the Washington side, despite the fact it's a bad matchup, bad game environments. But you got anything?
Yeah, you pretty much hit like the description of the slate. I think you kind of hit. It's a 4-gamer. We got value with Washington. For me, like that's pretty much it. We kind of like know now we have the value, so makes getting the Luka more attainable, makes getting up to Embiid more attainable. So, and then middling build, I feel like would be like a differentiated construction. But I think I'd still want to pay up for a stud, right? Like you have the value now. It's not like you're struggling like we were with Kleber earlier. So, paying up for a stud would be the way I'd be building.
How many are in the game-winning, the GP winning lineup? How many of Luka and Embiid? Is it like 1, 2, or 0? It's 1.
I think it's 1. You can try to get to 2, but there's like you can undercut Embiid with like a Bam, for example. I feel like that's like an interesting tournament construction if you get to Luka and then play Bam. I like Bam a good bit on the slate, so
I do too.
I think that's one way you could do it.
My bold prediction today, as bold as it may be, I don't know, was that Bam's gonna have his best game of the year, and he's not at 50 fantasy points on DK just yet. I think he had like 47 or 49, but I think he goes 50 plus against Charlotte. I just ran some optimals, by the way, on DK. I capped it at 73%. I didn't want to get any more than 73% of any players. And the very first, if there's 3 players that hit my cap, right? What team do you think those 3 players play for?
I bet they're on the Wizards.
Yeah. Gafford, Barton, and Hachimura, all 3 hit it. Anybody else kind of come in there? Kuzma, which is interesting that Kuzma is 20% because, yeah. All right.
Kuzma's got to be a good play. Monty Morris isn't really hitting it as much. Yeah, Kuzma at 20. Yeah, that makes sense.
If Kuzma gets ignored, like he's the guy that can just be the alpha and just take over this game. Yeah, that's pretty.
I like Kuzma. Like Kuzma's another one. Like you take that Kuzma, Bam, Luka kind of core. I think that's differentiated in a good way to kind of build.
All right, let's introduce this game. We talked about it as far as Dallas and Washington. The total is 209. Like I said, terrible game environment. 2 of the slowest teams in all of basketball. Dallas is the slowest team when it comes to pace. I believe Washington's like 3 or 4. Obviously, this is not their standard, guys rolling out there. But on the season, they're the 4th slowest. We'll talk about Philadelphia soon enough. They're the 2nd slowest. Actually, we got the 4 slowest teams on this slate. 8 teams, 4 games. Dallas is the slowest. Philadelphia is 2nd. Portland on layaway, they're 3rd slowest. And then Washington is the 4th slowest. Again, speaking to that game environment, 209 as far as the total. But, they're not going to get shut out. They're projected to score 100 points. Do you want to start the Dallas side first? I mentioned Wood is not going to be playing. He's out there for Dallas, and that's one of the reasons why we'll see some Maxi Kleber, getting some ownership to some degree. Also, Davis Bertans, I guess doesn't really matter. He hasn't really played much all season. If he's played at all, he's out as well for Dallas. But, yeah, how much Luka is one of your first big decision points. How much are you prioritizing him? If you're making one lineup, are you making sure he's in it?
I'm prioritizing Luka over Embiid as my pay up as a stud. I think that's pretty clear now. based on the value. Outside of that, like on this, it's a condensed rotation. All the usage runs through Luka, right? So I don't know. You can take shots at like Dinwiddie, but I don't know if I want to chase that necessarily. Powell, I think he's fine. McGee, but there's better value right on this Washington side. So like Kleber was interesting, but now I'm having a hard time really trying to get to anyone outside of Luka. I think that's pretty much always the case with the Mavericks, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically Luka or bust. Dinwiddie you can always fire on, and hopefully he gets hot. He's got to make it through his shots. You're not really low usage guys like Powell. Balak is he going to hit 5 threes? If not, forget it. Like that's the only way he gets there. DFS needs like 5 stocks and a couple threes. Not a big usage guy. Like you said, the game goes through Luka. 12.5K is the asking price. We're projecting close to 60 fantasy points. For what it's worth, the ownership is now 26%, but that was as of, I guess, 10 minutes ago. So I guess we'll see. And he's still, for what it's worth. Let me see how many optimals did he actually land in? He landed in 15% of my optimals for what it's worth. So, interesting, I guess. But people are just going to force Luka to some degree. Like I don't want to say force. It's probably the wrong word. But like they just want him. And rightfully so. He's the highest projected player on the slate. Just put him in my lineup and figure it out. It's one of my thought processes on that.
I don't think that's a bad thought process on a 4-gamer, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, he's kind of got to be the top raw score guy on the slate. But he's got a decent shot at it. He's projected 4 points ahead of Embiid and 10 points ahead of Trae Young, and then really separating himself from Murray and Butler in double digits. Otherwise, let's talk about Kleber because he's still usable, right? It's not a fun sweat. He's not a high usage guy. 30 minutes we're projecting off the bench. I presume he's coming off the bench. We don't have official starting lineup, but that's typically how that works. He'll jump in for Powell, and Powell doesn't really come back much. That's if you want to go like star scrub, right? I guess. If you want to pay up for one more guy, because Kleber, like we're going to have Gafford pass them by. That goes without saying, right?
Are we like so sure that Gafford is the guy? Like we're 100. Like I think in tournaments, like I know it's 3-2 and he's on a 4-gamer. Like maybe there's pivots within like the Wizards going to like a Denny. Rui at 4-1. I wrote up Rui earlier. Like he's in a really good spot. Has a ton of outs depending on how things kind of break. If they break his way, I like Rui a good bit. Just paying up off of. I'll still have I'll definitely play Gafford, but I think these other options are also in play as well.
Yeah. So Gafford's like a fantasy point minute guy, so doesn't necessarily have to play much beyond 25. Yeah. When he's not in there, I'm just trying to think who would be. I think Rui plays some 5, or he's capable of playing 5.
Yeah.
I guess if this game is really small, Kuzma could play a 5. But and Vernon Carey might get a few minutes. He's a bigger guy, but
we're not playing Vernon Carey though.
No. I'm just trying to think like who sucks up those center minutes essentially.
I think Rui. You could see Kuz, depending on how small it goes. Like you're taking Taj out, so I think all these guys have like Rui. I think would be like the biggest beneficiary of like all these moving parts outside of Gafford.
Yeah, Rui on the season averaging 0.84, 0.82 fantasy points per minute, depending on what site you're playing on. Again, this year Gafford 0.97 on Fanduel, 0.93 on DK. Avdia not amazing, but 0.73. Corey Kispert's like really bad fantasy wise, 0.5 on Fanduel, 0.53 on DK, and Morris around 0.8. I can run a court IQ.
How many minutes do we have Avdia for?
I believe we got him drawing the start. Yeah, we're gonna have Avdia draw the start. Wait, maybe not.
No, we don't. Yeah.
Wait, I think if I'm gonna refresh, we're projecting Morris, Kispert, Avdia, Kuzma, and Gafford. So we are projecting Avdia to start alongside Kispert, Kuzma, Gafford, Morris, and we don't have a
Avdia for 26 minutes. I like Avdia a good bit.
It seems a little conservative on those minutes there for Avdia. feel it's a little conservative. Yeah, we're not giving. I mean, he's only 3.9K. We're giving him. I think he's. I feel like we're a little low on his projection personally. I'd bump that up a little bit. Have you messed with this at all with these arrows, by the way, on the lineup HQ?
No, not really.
Yeah, I haven't really tinkered with it. I'll just manually kind of bump stuff up and like add a point or two, that kind of. But maybe it's easier just to click the arrow up and the arrow down and do it that way. Barton off the bench is a guy that theoretically we've seen it before. He's not afraid to shoot, and if he gets hot, he can put 20 or 25 points, like real life points, in the bucket right there. That's kind of his route. Kuzma, that seems a little low in Kuzma too. Am I wrong to think that's a little low as far as the projection for him?
I really like Kuzma. We have him currently. Where do we have Kuz? Give him for 35.8 in terms of minutes. I don't know. Maybe I think that's with the rotation. Like it maybe sees 1 or 2 or 3 more. I don't like for Kuzma. I think Kuzma's a really good play. But I don't know where do you think his minutes would be?
Well, I was thinking like his fantasy points not a little low because I figured his rates are going to go up.
Oh, I thought you were saying minutes, and I just got totally confused a little bit.
34, right? But I just feel like we're giving him, I guess, a little bit over more than a fantasy point per minute. That's what he's been this year when you take Beal and Porzingis off, but that's only 60 minutes. I wonder if I could stretch it back to last year if that'll change things. But 1.02 DK points per minute. Let's see if we do it the last 2 seasons. This is the Court IQ tool. If you guys are not aware of it, I can go ahead and drop it in chat. I'm not sure if it's premium or non-premium. I have access to everything, so I don't know. But this is definitely useful. Take guys on.
I think it's premium.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not certain because sometimes these things change, and I don't know. All right, last 2 seasons. Let's see what we got. Hachimura so far this year wasn't very hot either. As far as let's see, last year if we take off Beal and Porzingis.
He soaked up. If I remember correctly, he soaked up a ton of usage in these situations. 27.6.
Yeah, which isn't like a monster number, but
yeah, I thought it was higher than that.
Barton, by the way, gets a bump of 5.7%. And again, his minutes are only so many. Not 99. He was on the team last year, obviously, but over a fantasy point, 1.02. I could kick more guys off, but then our sample's going to start to shrink because, like Montrezl Harrell's in the sample because he played in the team last year. It's hard to get it perfect when you stretch to the last season, but like Taj Gibson's in here too. I guess I got to kick him out, but I'm just trying to figure out the best value plays on the Washington side. I think,
how would you rank the 4?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. And if I'm going to put any rules, would I limit myself to 3? I don't think I would go beyond 3. Can 3 get there? I think so, because 1, there's not a lot of value in this slate. There's not a ton, at least not yet. And 2, these guys are so cheap, right? So if they're all expensive, it's a different conversation. But
for me, I think it would be Rui, then Gafford, Avade, and then Barton, if I had to rank them. But obviously the best value play based on our stuff is Gafford at 3-2. But I like the outs for Rui in tournaments if we're talking from a GPP perspective.
Yeah, I think Rui's got to be in your pool. Gafford is going to be pretty popular. We're looking at Rui at 44% and both at 44%. Gafford and Rui each at 44%. Those are big boy numbers. Barton, we're presuming he's going to come off the bench at 32%, 28 minutes. But yeah, we're only projecting 24 minutes for Gafford, by the way, which that might be the case. I can see him getting a rotation coming out. Also, just he's been handsy. He will get in foul trouble sometimes, just not to scare anybody, but he's been known to do that. And then come out and not come back for a while. Maybe close the first half, the last 3 minutes or something like that. I can see something like that. And maybe playing 10 and 3. I don't know. Just trying to think of how his minutes might break down. I wouldn't say it's a guarantee he closes. And Dallas can go small too, right?
Yeah, so there are paths where Gafford doesn't really hit his chalk, and I think you can kind of get to these other guys. I think Gafford's still a really good play, but I think you can take your chances. Like our minutes are kind of down on him, like you talked about. He is handsy. That's why I think you can take, and like if you're trying to get different in larger field stuff, you can kind of get away a little bit, not too much, but I don't know. I would definitely prefer Rui to Gafford.
If you're making
maybe 11, pay the 800 more or whatever it is.
You're making a bunch of lineups. How many Washington players are in your pool? I think Rui's in, Gafford's in, Barton's in, Avdia, Morris, Kuzma.
Yeah.
Do you extend to like Kispert's 3-3? Like theoretically, I know he's been a terrible fantasy point minute guy, but theoretically he can get to like 25. Like, but that's his floor his ceiling's not great. Jordan Goodwin's had some moments.
I think Jordan Goodwin would be the last one I'd play. I don't know if I'd play Kispert.
I don't know if I would. I mean, if I'm running 150, he's probably in the pool just because. And I have a rule where I'd put like at least one Washington guy. I don't know, maybe two Washington. Maybe two.
I think on a 4-gamer, your Opto is just going to hit that anyways.
Right? Yeah, that's right. And where would you cap it at, 3 or 4?
I'd cap it at 3. I'd maybe max 2 because no, I would probably cap it at 3. I think you're giving away a lot on a 4-game slate if you cap it at 2.
Yeah, I think
it was a 12-game slate differently, but
I mean the matchup stinks. But like again, they're not going to get shut out. And these guys are super cheap, and there's just not a lot to go around. Like we've seen Anthony Gill start some games.
We're not playing Anthony Gill.
He started some games this year for what it's worth. Like I don't know. I'm just saying there's a chance they might go back to him. I don't know if that will happen.
We already have the starters though, correct? Or you just see an increased minutes? Yeah.
Our projected starting lineup is more
projected starting lineup.
Yeah. Like we'll get it at some point, and if we don't get it, crunch time's gonna get it. But it's the first game at 7:00. I keep checking Twitter to see if we have anything, and nothing there. It's interesting that Kuzma is like the lowest owned of this group, and he's the guy that can put up like 55.
I want to have, I think Kuzma's an elite play just because everyone's going to try to make Embiid and Luka work, and you can just play Bam and play Kuz and play one of the two rather than just play two guys where, I don't know, I think a lot of people's constructions are kind of going to go that way. You can just get to Bam. Bam's in a really good spot for Charlotte. Yeah, and then Kuzma, like if he sees all the usage, we 27.6% usage rate versus I'd feel more comfortable with that route in terms of construction.
This Goodwin thing, like he's played back-to-back like really strong games, like for the minutes he's been delegated, but like he's 7 of 7 and 4 of 7, and he hasn't missed from it was 2 for 5 from 3 in total. It just feels like he's kind of run pretty lucky. I think he's a two-way player. I guess he'll have an opportunity, but he's also not 3K. He's like 4.7. I have to make a lot of lineups to get the gourd. Goodwin is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
he's been fine, but
Goodwin would definitely be like the last value piece from this team that I'd try to get
to. It's a Dinwiddie revenge game according to the chat. And what did I humble brag, Greg? What did I make a humble brag? I don't think I did. Michael's bringing up the random game of Vernon Carey, put up 50 fantasy points last year. I remember discussing him before because he has the same name of the former Miami Dolphin offensive lineman many years ago. That's why I remember him. Obviously, hasn't done much this year. Let's see. Michael's asking, Luka, are we worried about the combo of high ownership and possible blowout with no Porzingis, no Beal? It's a back-to-back for Dallas, travel as well. And I still am not certain the ownership's going to be as high. It's a 4-gamer. So high is relative, right? He's not going to be like 45, 50% owned. Like that's obviously massive, but
what do we have him for ownership? He's got to be like,
I'm refreshing now. We got him for
22%,
26.
26. I got to refresh.
I mean, maybe he gets the 30 or so, but like, again, it's 4 games. Like you got to change your ownership rules,
Do you prefer Luka also to Embiid?
I mean, it's a lineup construction thing, right? But I'm gonna run both routes. I don't think I can play them both. I haven't run that yet. I wonder what a lineup looks like if I lock them both in. Probably not good. Like you're probably dealing with the Kisperts of the world that you're not going to feel great about. Let's see what a lineup looks like if I just kind of lock them both in. It's going to be ugly, right?
Yeah, I feel like it will be.
Thank you, Brian. Hit that like button. Yeah, we haven't pushed the like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. So, just for funsies, I locked in Luka and Embiid, and I want to see like what comes in around them. It is, you're going to get Maxey. You're going to get 4 Wizards. Like you can figure it out. That's what you get. And then you get DeAnthony Melton, who's like a pretty good value play. I don't know if I want to say value, but like pretty good math play. About 6K, projected for around 30, 31, 32 or something like that. You might get Dinwiddie instead than Melton.
I like Melton a good bit. I think I'd prefer Melton to Dinwiddie.
Yeah. And then, like, not to say that they
save the 500 or whatever it is, and then I don't know. I'm just not chasing Dinwiddie.
Yeah, so your Luka Embiid lineups are just Luka Embiid, Washington value, like a lot of Washington value, like 4 Washington guys, and then one more piece basically, which I don't know if I like that. I don't know. That's yeah. There's just different ways of doing it, obviously, but that's like the first. Maybe like DeAndre Hunter is another kind of cheap guy you can figure kind of work in there if you like him for some reason. All right, just taking like an overarching, it's a 4-gamer. That's why I thought it was worth spending a lot of time on this one. You want to jump back to Dallas and just kind of clean that up as far as Luka and the auxiliary pieces for the Mavs?
Yeah, pretty condensed rotation. Like I said, like we've always talked about, Dallas it's pretty much like you can play Kleber, you can play Hardaway Jr. He's relatively cheap, but like for me, it's mainly Luka. It's always usually how it goes with Dallas, unless we're going to get Kleber chalk, which we didn't. Now that we have the Washington value.
All right, and you want to just give it one more time as far as your favorite Washington pieces, kind of run them down because some people just tune in late, and I think it's very important for this slate.
Yeah, so for me, I like Gafford, but I think I'm in tournaments. Like I think I'm gonna play Rui ahead of him. Then it would be Gafford. Then it would be just pulling up. I forget Rui, Gafford, Avade, and Barton, and then Monty Morris. And then if I had I don't know, like you can make a case for Goodwin, I guess, in 150.
We've seen Gafford, we've seen multiple Gafford games. Sometimes it works out really good, and sometimes it works out really bad. We've seen this before.
I think Gafford's a bad large field tournament play for what it's worth.
That's what I'm trying to think how fadeable he is. Because, and also if you're just playing his teammates instead. I don't know. It's an interesting.
We were ranking the value too. So like Kuzma is my favorite piece from Washington, but we were just ranking the value.
Yeah, like Gafford's the best value play, but then
Gafford, you
start bringing stuff in. I'm curious and also center's pretty strong. Like we like Bam, we like Embiid. We'll be talking about that. Valanciunas, if Nance doesn't go, looks pretty good. So, yeah. All right. Anything else, or shall we move on?
No, we can move on. Can you hear that screaming kid in the background?
I see. Your child is not a big fan of
minutes. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries, man. These things happen. All right, Charlotte versus the Heat, 214.5 at the total. Miami is an 11-point favorite here. As far as the Charlotte side, same deal as always. No Ball, no Hayward. Cody Martin's not going to play in Miami. We may or may not see Tyler Hero. He's questionable. Caleb Martin is questionable. If one of those two is ruled out, Max Strus probably jumps in the starting lineup, but both are ruled out. Strus and then pieces of Vincent and Duncan Robinson get elevated to some degree. And I don't know if that's any better than the Washington stuff that's already out there lurking, but just kind of keep note on that. And then Jimmy Butler, we didn't mention, he's kind of in the middle of all this stuff, right? He's just another stub, but I think people are going to just go to Bam before Butler when you consider salary. It sounds like that's where you're at as well as far as the Miami side.
Yeah, I think the hero news, if he sits, like it just solidifies Bam. Bam, someone I really want to get to. If Struz popped in, he'd hit my 150, definitely. Yeah, but it's predominantly Bam. I think you can make a case for Lowry if hero sits as well. It's always like it's with Miami. It's kind of a Butler versus Bam thing for me in terms of studs. And this year, I feel like I've been more on the Bam side, and the matchup tonight kind of versus the Hornets. Like they've been getting crushed by big, so just an easy Bam play. On the Hornet side, like I don't mind getting to Terry Rozier. People in playing him hasn't been shooting well. I like the idea of playing him tonight again. I was wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I've been playing him too. And the opportunity is there, and he's running the show, right? There's not much else in the way. Like, the ball is in his hands the entire game. He came back to a boatload of minutes, 36, 38, 35, right out the gate.
Yeah.
There's no apprehension. And like you said, he's not making shots. He's firing, though. 6 of 20, 9 of 23, 9 of 24, 1 of 9 from 3. Like, I will take my chances. And Miami is a good team to fire threes against, for what it's worth. That's their one vulnerability. Like you don't really want to pick on them defensively. Some good on-ball defenders, the general rule, but they are vulnerable to yielding three-pointers, which that's Charlotte's only way to really hang in this game, I think. There's danger of them getting blown out. Wouldn't be surprised. Little South Beach flu kicking in. But, if there's three-point variance and it goes their way, then like Oubre's doing his thing and Rozier's doing his thing. But I think my thought is that if I'm playing one or two Hornets, if I'm playing a Hornet, I want to run it back with at least one guy in Miami. I think that's where I'm at. If I'm playing two, I probably want I like a nice little game stack, or like no Hornets at all, and maybe like one Miami piece is sort of where I'm at. Like I feel like Miami's got a chance to really put it on Charlotte. Wouldn't surprise me, but maybe
I think that makes sense. I think the run back to just building that way is the way to go. I don't like Oubre as much. Like I feel like I'd much prefer Rozier to Oubre if I had to choose between the two.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a salary thing too. But yeah, I agree. Like Rozier's a guy that could put up if this game is close and like these teams are scoring. Again, the total's not very high, 214.5. But like Rozier's a guy that can put up 50 easy.
Yeah,
right night.
Yeah, it is. Oubre's down in 6'4", Rozier's at 8K. But no, I get what you were saying. Yeah, I just don't. If it wasn't a 4-game slate, like I don't think I'd even be considering.
Correct. Yeah. In this game, if you could take this game and put it on yesterday's slate, unless of course, like Miami's without Hero and Martin. Okay, sure. But otherwise, the Charlotte guys, I would basically be crossing off outside of maybe like a pinch of Rozier or something like that. But you're paying a lot for him too. This is like 8-6 is this is about as expensive as he's been all season. But again, if this game somehow stays close, which can, it's probably because Rozier is having himself a big day, or like Oubre's got like 7 threes, which is possible too. Plumlee is like a center that I find it hard to play. Like he's always just sort of like somebody that hits his value, right, and is fine, but usually doesn't break that slate. Rarely do you say, "Man, I wish I had Plumlee today. I needed Plumlee."
Yeah.
So like he's okay, but I don't think I'm playing him.
I think he was going to be chalkier earlier, and I just had no interest.
Chalk Plumlee versus Miami sounds like a bad idea. Something I probably would want to avoid.
Or he's getting a little bit more ownership than I guess what he's currently getting now because of the Washington value.
Josh in chat, just taking a peek what's going on in the chat. What is Kuzma's percentage owned? It's not showing up on FHQ for some reason. Let's see. Take a peek for you. But yeah, that is on the screen if you guys aren't aware. If you're just listening for whatever reason, maybe you're making lineups, you're on your DK or Fanduel or whatever. What do we have as far as Kuzma ownership? I did think it was interesting. Yeah, we got him at 20% and like less. He's like 4th on his team, basically. I know he's the most expensive. Obviously, that's the reason. But he can really
significantly overweight on Kuzma tonight.
I like that strategy. I think that's a good move. Running Luka, Kuzma, maybe and one or two other guys on Washington. I mean, it's obviously, the game stack's right there. If you want to play Dimley, if you want to play Kleber as well. I'm more likely to play a game stack, or even like a thicker game stack when it's only 4 games. Just because that one game can get goofy and the rest of them, squirrely things can happen, right? You catch their one, double overtime game, and the other 3, like 2 blowout, and the other one's just kind of inconsequential. So that's a sort of where I'm at. Like, if the smaller the slate, the more likely I am to play like 3 versus 2. And of course, if like all the star players are out for one team on a 12-game slate, you can't avoid that either.
Yeah.
All slates are different. Just as a general thought, I'm more likely to run 3 versus 2 or something like that, which I'm almost definitely sure I'll do that. Kyle Lowry, thoughts on Kyle?
I don't hate him. Like, I don't want to play a ton of him, but I don't hate him if Hero's out. I think he's somewhat in play in that situation. But Bam is definitely the guy for me on the Heat side.
Question in chat, Emmy wants, is fading Embiid and Luka crazy? No, it's not crazy. You can get away with it. Like, you can get.
I think fading one of the two is fine. I wouldn't fade both. You think that a middling construction can really win on this slate?
Yes. I mean, is it crazy is the question. I don't think it's crazy. Am I going to do it? Probably not.
Play one of the two. Don't. Yeah, it's a 4-gamer.
The middle.
I could see if it was a 12-gamer.
You could play like Butler, Bam, Rozier, and then like work from there. Like, is it crazy?
I don't know. I would just get up to the. We have the value now. Just why overthink it? Just get up to the studs. Like, it might have been made more sense in a Kleber when Kleber was value. But if you can just pay up for Luka, pay up for Luka.
I'm just kind of thinking through, like, you could play Trey versus like Maxey and Tobias, or Maxey and Melton. It's like something like that. And obviously a lot of it's based upon how good those studs do. That's hugely, but also how good is the mid-tier stuff, right? If those guys all put up like 40 or 45 and Embiid and Luka put up 50 or 60, then you could survive it, I think. Makes it interesting. What's going on here on Twitter? Can we get some lineups, some guys rolled in, some guys rolled out?
I feel like we don't have any news, and we should have news by now.
So typically the coaches meet with the press or meet with the media an hour and a half before the game. That's why I thought we'd get something with Miami and Charlotte, because it's 7:30 tip-off. But that did not happen. That's usually when the Miami stuff will come out. It's curious that we haven't got anything in that game at all. It's pretty quiet there. And, Portland's later, so we'll probably get something on them, I guess, around 6:30, theoretically, with Grant and Nurkic. And it's always weird because they gave us Lillard. That was like not an injury thing, though, right? It was just like an injury management, back-to-back, whatever you want to call it. Scheduled loss, back-to-back, and traveling in New Orleans. Your favorite player as a run back, you like Bam. Who's your favorite run back on Charlotte? You want to just repeat
it? It would be Rozier.
Yeah.
And that's expensive. You're getting expensive in that situation, so.
See, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you can make a case for Oubre at 6'4". He is due, so I don't know.
He's a willing shooter. And again, Miami's a team that will give up some threes, so. They play earlier in this year. I feel like they did for some reason. Maybe I'm making this up. I guess they did. No, I was thinking of a different game. Never mind. You got anything else as far as this game?
Oh, no, that's probably about it. You would definitely be running back this game in general. I feel like you can play Bam alone at 7-7.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm playing a Charlotte piece, I'm definitely playing a Miami piece.
Yeah.
If I'm playing a Miami piece, I'm not definitely playing a Charlotte piece.
Okay.
I think that's where I'm settling on that. But I can't see playing Rozier and not
100%. Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense to me. All right, Philadelphia, Atlanta, 222 is the total. Philadelphia is a 1.5 point dog or a 1 point dog. Obviously, James Harden is still out for Philly. Otherwise, PJ Tucker is questionable too, which I guess could matter. We'll see. Dan House expected to be available, back from his illness. Atlanta looks like they're fully healthy. Bogdan Bogdanovic has not played all season long. I think he's coming back soon, but not tonight. Is there still meat on the bone that is like Tyrese Maxey at 8.2K? Is there still meat in the Melton bone at the 6K? Is that still like Melton was one of those guys there on the day looked really strong. He's still fine. Harris at 7-1 is pretty good too. Tucker being out, I don't know who would jump in the starting lineup. Maybe they would go. Maybe
I prefer Melton and Harris to Maxey for what it's worth. I just because I'm playing Luka, so I don't know. I feel like Melton at 6K. It's like the easiest kind of salary play. Embiid's obviously a fantastic play, but I think there's like more people to take, like your Melton Harris could take away from Embiid, Maxey. Not like they're going to do too significantly, but Luka has no one there that's really going to steal usage from him. So
yeah,
it's an easy play for me if I pick between Luka and Embiid. Yeah, Melton at that price tag just fits kind of what my construction is, and I don't think he's priced up. He's obviously priced up, but not to where I'm afraid to play him on a 4-game slate.
Yeah, Maxey is just tough. Like I like Maxey. I wish it was a little bit cheaper. He certainly can pay that off. And like we've seen games where he scores like 35 points, just takes it over and just shoots like crazy. We've seen other games where he goes 4 of 18, like last time. And
8-2 is expensive.
It's kind of pricey. And like he can get some assists, but otherwise like he's not really going to get you anything in the way of blocks or steals. Rebounds, not really, just like he's got to score. And then that's, he certainly can. Like, he's 2 of his last 3 games. He scored at least 31 points, 28 before that. He scored 44 versus Toronto. Like, he's not afraid to fire.
Bias is somewhat interesting, I would say.
He's always just sort of like, there. It rarely is Tobias like my favorite play on Philly, but he's like always playable, right?
He's played well with Harden out for what it's worth.
Yeah. No, I like it. And
it's a 4-gamer. Like if it was a 12-gamer, it wouldn't even be. But it's a 4-gamer. I don't mind going to Harris a little bit.
As far as Hammer says, did Hammer read my expert survey? First 50 burger for Bam this year. That's what I said. Yeah. So we're on the same wavelength with that as far as Bam Adebayo. And with Embiid coming back last time, I was a little bit concerned. He came back. He was out with an illness for a while. It was good to see him come back and be aggressive. He was firing. His usage was like 36, 35%. He took 21 shots. He took 16 free throws. He played 37 minutes. So whatever illness he had, it was not a concern. So Embiid looks like a really, really strong play here. I'm seeing the starters are out for Washington, according to chat. I wonder if they are as predicted. Morris, Kispert, Avdia. There is Gill. And it's not.
Ooh.
There you go. So Kuzma's playing the 5, I think, right?
That's what I would like with that lineup. Yeah, I think that's the case. Kuzma's a good play.
Kuzma looks like a really, really strong play. I wouldn't feel comfortable with Gill for the record. I feel like he's like playable, of course. There's some fluidity in this Washington team, and a lot of it might just be like performance based, like what's working, because they're without Beal, they're without Porzingis. They're just going to try to figure it out and see what works. So there might be some quick hooks. Gafford's only going to get some run, but he's obviously not as comfortable now.
I would be very under on Gafford now. Now, I don't know. It just seems like it becomes a worse play.
I just wonder, like, if Gafford.
I didn't love him as chalk to begin with. Like, I don't know. Once I started digging in, I became skeptical. Maybe
they bring him in when Dallas brings in Kleber. I don't know. And like they know that's kind of what Dallas does. Like they start Powell and Kleber comes in and sticks around for a while. It's hard to say, but our projection is going to go down on him for sure. Because we were assuming he was in. I'm assuming we were assuming he was in. And Gill is going to get a bump in projection, but it's uncomfortable. I can't say with a lot of confidence.
Rui and Denny are better play. I would go back. Like, I'd be much more interested. I don't know. I don't know.
I think
not starting.
Try to get overweight on Kuzma this game.
Yeah, Kuzma is a very good play.
That is interesting though. And Gil like 3K? He is, right? 3K.
I wanted to think like I was getting too cute trying to fade Gafford, and now he's a backup. It's just
you needed the lineup to come out late.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it comes out like really, really late, and you could have, taken advantage of everybody jamming Gafford in. But that is interesting. All right, we got to knock out these other games as well. And of course, the Crunch Time crew, they're going to be coming in about 10 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes, taking y'all straight up the lock. If you guys are premium members, make sure you ask your premium questions in the premium channel, the Crunch Time channel. And, if we are done with those questions, or if Roth goes through all of them, he will go ahead and ask the questions or get to the questions that are lurking there in the YouTube. We didn't talk about Atlanta. I don't know what to do with Atlanta. I think both centers are interesting because Embiid has a way of getting people in foul trouble, and they're both good fantasy point meta players. If they split the 48 minutes, Capella and Okongwu, but there's a chance. Like sometimes it's 28 and 20, and they're both kind of uneventful. But sometimes you get 31-17. What if Capella gets 2 early fouls? Like then it could be Okongwu's can be like a great value play.
That's what you have to kind of look like for in these slate. I like Okongwu a little bit. But yeah, the centers would make the most sense. Capella. I think you make a case for Collins and Hunter, but the other plays from these other games, I think, are just. I'm getting to those guys way ahead of the Atlanta side.
Capella 1.17 Fanduel points this year. Good block guy, so he gets a bit of a bump over there. 1.11 on DK. Okongwu right around 1.99 on Fanduel, 0.94 on DK. If you're running a bunch of lineups, of course, get yourself some Trae Young and some Murray. But for me, they're not priorities. I like them. Hunter's just sort of fine, right? Collins is fine. I don't think I'm expanding beyond that. It sounds like that's kind of where you're at as well.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think Trae Young, like I think you can make a case to play him, but I definitely would be playing Luka and Embiid before I'm playing Trae Young.
If I'm playing Trae Young, I'm definitely going to play at least, if not Embiid, like 2 or 3.
You're playing for overtime, I feel like, in that situation.
Anything else that you want to note as far as that game, or shall we knock out Portland and New Orleans?
Let's hit on Portland and New Orleans.
All right. Let's see if we got any Portland news. I'm guessing we don't. No. All right. Yeah, so we know Lillard's out. Grant and Nurkic did not play yesterday. It's the back half of a back-to-back. We saw Drew Eubanks play really well. What's interesting about that game, I don't know if you looked at the box scores, if you dug into it. So Eubanks was really, really good. He started, was awesome. He played 22 minutes. He split his minutes with Wofford. Wofford played 26 off the bench. And they're both good fantasy point minute players. But if Grant and Nurkic are out again, I think we saw Winslow jump in the starting lineup. It's just like in Eubanks' price went up a little bit too. I just people might assume like Eubanks is this lock again, which again he smashed yesterday. He played 22 minutes as the starter. Now this game can get out of hand, and it might actually be a benefit to be the bench guy because then you're going to mop up. But just thought it was an interesting note. Simons theoretically we get a lot of usage here, but bad matchup, possible blowout here. But in the absence of Lillard, he should rise. But you're also paying a lot of money. You got a little Josh Hart revenge game. I don't mind him if you like this game to stay close as well. But we're kind of in a holding pattern as far as Grant and Nurkic. What do you got as far as Portland?
Yeah, can I interest you in any shade on Sharp? I know it's thin, obviously, but I think there is like some way. I think he can kind of work when you're taking out Lillard. Simons, like if it blows out, like I think Sharp will see run in that situation. Yeah, Eubanks 22 minutes. That makes me. It's good that he did well, but that makes me a little worried. If it does blow out, though, Eubanks could probably see some extra run. I think I prefer like all these other games. The Washington Mavericks game and Hornets Heat game. So these two other games we've just kind of hit on Philly, Atlanta, and then Portland Pelicans. Like, there's nothing on the Pelicans side I want to play. Everyone's healthy. On this side, yeah, you're taking out Lillard, but I think that just with the spread and there's a lot of questions in terms of like how this game flow will go. So I don't know. I feel like my favorite play would be Sharp.
I think I'm seeing. I want to confirm this that Nance is good to go and in. Let's see. No, Larry Nance game time decision. All right, never mind. So when Nance doesn't play, there's a chance that Valanciunas closes. Better chance that he closes. He closed yesterday, with the exception of like the last 20 seconds or so, and he played really well. So just interesting. I think he's the most.
Do you think the game stays close to where he will close though?
Maybe. I mean, maybe if I didn't, I should just like not play DFS and just bet New Orleans, right?
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
But like, I don't know. I mean, if I'm going to guess, I think New Orleans wins this game by at least 10. But there's the other thing is like, well, okay, if it's a 12-point game with 3 minutes to go, everybody's out there, right? And that's, that's kind of where Vegas has it. But I think New Orleans is going to handle them. But I think New Orleans is actually a good team. Like, just I like them as just like their overall composition. I like their players. But I'm with you too. I don't really love them DFS wise.
Who would be your favorite Pelican?
My favorite Pelican is Jonas Valanciunas if Larry Nance doesn't play. Otherwise,
Zion, I would imagine.
I like him. It's
if
tough.
you think the game stays close, Zion's going to crush.
I don't know. I don't have a hard take as far as if the game stays close or not, to be honest. I just don't. But if you're going to force me to take a side, I would take New Orleans minus 10, or whatever the line is. I think it's 10. McCollum, revenge game, too, if that does anything for you. If you wanted to get goofy on a 4-gamer, like I don't hate like a Trey Murphy, but I don't see myself getting there. I'm in kind of wait and see mode. I wonder when we get this news as far as Portland, because there's Washington value stuff right there in the very first game. Flying Armbar wants to know three favorite cheap punts on DK. It's a good question.
3 favorite cheap punts. It's Gafford, best value, which I'm skeptical about. He's obviously the best point per dollar play.
Is it still Gafford?
What'd you say?
You said Gafford?
Oh, I thought he was talking about on the entire slate.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if my answer is Gafford anymore. I'm concerned.
Yeah. I was just Gafford would probably be Gafford, Rui, and I don't know.
I think Okongwu was a fun one.
Oh, Okongwu?
Yeah, I think that's a fun one.
At 3.6. Yeah, I like Okongwu. I like that call.
Again, he might just play 20 minutes, but he might play 28. And I definitely want to have, like on DK, you can do it. You can't do it on Fanduel, but I definitely want to have Embiid run at one of those centers there for Atlanta on at least one lineup, whichever one fits my build. I'm good sitting on Capella or Okongwu.
Barton at 4-1. Abade 3-7.
Yeah. I'm not comfortable with Gafford right now. But he's like, he's got to play, right? Yeah, he's still got to play like 20 minutes. He's interesting. Like, he's going to be in my pool. Obviously it becomes a little bit thinner.
Yeah, he's definitely more thin now.
Maybe the crunch time guys will have a better answer for us, because I like to have some conviction, but I also don't want to like fake conviction. And that's the sort of where I'm at. I just don't know.
You're gonna get some conviction from me, Dean. Plenty of it. Dude. Plenty of conviction is coming.
What jersey is that? Oh, it's Duke. Is that a certain player?
Yeah, this is Chris Duhon, man. I'm throwback. I'm not the new guys. I've been a Duke fan for a long time. Yeah, this is Duhon all the way right here.
Why is Duke your favorite team? Oh, you're from the Carolinas?
I am. I've just been a Duke fan. Followed Grant Hill. Let me see, Jay Will. I just been a Duke fan. Like, I didn't like say, oh, is it Duke? Is it North Carolina? Because I'm from South Carolina. I could have easily been a Gamecock fan, but I'm not a Gamecock fan either.
No Andy Means jersey? Is that not?
So listen, Andy Means jersey is framed on the wall of my heart.
Did you ever pick Andy's brain about you ever corner him and ask him some Duke questions? He'd probably have some good inside dirt for you that maybe he would tell about those years.
I let my son talk to him. My son's an aspiring basketball player, so I got him to talk to Andy a little bit about college life and stuff like that. So I think it helped him. He was in 7th, 8th grade at the time. He's a sophomore now. And
your son's he's one of the ones. I was listening to your podcast.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, plays varsity. So
sweet.
Hopefully he has a good season. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. He had a game the other night. He played pretty well. Told me he needed to shoot a little bit more. Get a little bit more aggressive. But he's in 10th grade, his first game. Probably had some nerves. Didn't want to lose his playing time on what he would have felt like would have been a bad play. So I get it. He'll get there. It is what it is.
What did I say? Here's one saying I must think Duke's in Virginia. Why would I? I know it's in North Carolina. Like I know. I've been there before.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Well, listen. Let me just say, coming into this show, what a pleasure it is to see somebody with that $1 million placard behind them. Perhaps one day I can put one of those on my wall. Man, it's freaking fantastic.
Thanks. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, a long time ago, though. Would like to get another one.
You're due for a second one? I mean, back in the line.
I'm overdue for a second one.
I'm overdue for a first one. So great.
None of us are. The math. None of us. We can live 1,000 lifetimes. We're not supposed to ever. Not 1,000. Well, I don't know what the numbers are. But Roth, are you due for the Millionaire Maker? Are you up next?
Yeah, I only put in one lineup maybe every other week. So probably not. Probably you guys who are putting in 20 plus or max entering it, maybe more deserved than I. So I'm okay with just like 100K. I don't need the placard in the millie.
There you go.
Roth is the one person that's actually going to win this thing now.
Yeah.
Whenever you start hearing somebody say, "Oh, I put in one lineup every 2 weeks," it's on the way.
Yeah.
Just, don't even worry. It's coming.
Right.
Bobby, we got to make lineups. You got anything else for the boys? You want to step aside and let them do their deal?
Yeah, let them go to work. We'll hop out of here. Get out of your hair.
$1 million winner, Bobby Gomes. Dean, do appreciate you all tuning in for the first portion here of the show. Kindly hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications, fire off your questions. If you guys are premium members, make sure to put them in the Crunch Time chat. And Roth, if you're kind enough, if you have enough time, you'll knock out those questions in YouTube soon enough. But of course, priority goes to premium members. Roth, I'm stepping aside. I got to make some lineups. It's yourself and the Chief. We're out of here.
Appreciate it as always, buddy. Welcome to it. It is Crunch Time, and yes, it is indeed sponsored by Fanduel. Joined by one of the sharpest minds in the biz. It is none other than Chief. What's happening? By the way, if your kid needs some basketball tips and wants to talk to someone who's a real hooper, I'm available. I'm welcome. We can have that conversation.
You do know that I coach basketball, right?
Oh, all right. Well, then never mind. I was just, you had Andy Means. You set him up with Andy Means. And I'm
that's because he actually wants to go to Duke.
Oh, okay.
So I go to Duke place. He had full-blown experience. But I got you, Rob. Listen, anybody that's willing to help, give them a nugget, piece of advice, I'm down. Because, kids know everything, but they know nothing at the same time. So anything they can get that's not from their parent, I'm in.
Yeah, I just teach him pump fake, baby hook, pump fake, shoulder, baby hook. It's my only move, so I can teach him that perfectly. By the way, I'm seeing Hero is out. I don't know where he was on the injury report, but that's coming across. The Tyler Hero will not be our hero tonight. What does that open up for us?
Well, so the big thing is Miami's playing the Charlotte Hornets, who don't play great defense at all. Yeah. I think my first reaction is Max Struss is probably going to be even more in play, especially on FanDuel at 4,900. He should. I'm thinking our projection team is probably going to bump him some. And let me see where Max was currently. Give me a second because I'm doing this on the fly.
You're good.
Let's see. I think the issue was I probably had so he was at 27 minutes. My thinking is he's probably going to go up to about 32, 33 minutes now. And so even just bumping the minutes with the change of projection, that puts him around 24 and a half fantasy points. So he's probably got some upside. He's probably going to start popping a little bit in projections just because this slate is, dare I say, pretty terrible. It's odd combinations of players, but there's still some plays to be had. So what I like to do, because you guys know, and I'll tell everybody straight up, I hate cash games. That's why I'm more into props. Props are my cash games, if you will. Sure. But in terms of what Meansy has tagged as core plays, I'm going to say those are going to change, and he may be, perhaps he's up there. He did have Melton and Maxi Kleber. Those were the two core plays for FanDuel. Melton is probably still, I would say big time in play against Atlanta, going to play big minutes. Maxi Kleber, I think, is probably still fairly okay. There's no Porzingis tonight either. But I think the big news for me is, we're getting guys like Kyle Kuzma at 6,500 that should begin to pop. We should have guys like Denny Avdia popping as well, because when all these guys are sitting, so Bradley Beal's not playing either, of course. So, Denny and Kyle, I think, should start to enter cash game consideration, in my opinion. Right. Also, we know Dame is out. I do think we're still waiting on the Nurkic news, but even outside of the Nurkic news, Anthony Simons is probably going to enter cash game consideration for me. The projection doesn't seem as great as I would like, but I kind of don't care about that. No Dame essentially should open up a few more shots for him. And if they're going to stay competitive, in my opinion, I think Simons goes for 20 to 25 points fairly easily here, as long as the game is competitive, with upside for, let's say, 30. And when I'm saying points right now, I'm talking real points, not fantasy points. So
points in the bucket, as Dean would say.
Yeah, points in the bucket. So I think Simons has upside for 30 real points tonight if this game stays very competitive, which squarely puts him in play for me in terms of cash games. And then the other thing I want to mention too, and I've been trying to, I really wish we got this Nurkic news earlier. If Nurkic were to sit, then on FanDuel, of course, you're going to get access to Drew Eubanks for 3,500, played last night. Now, look, he didn't play 30 minutes, okay? So I don't want anybody to start jumping out of here thinking he's playing 35 minutes. It's not that. But if he's going to get 25 to 30 minutes at 3,500, then he's going to end up being a really, really good value. So that's kind of, I think those are enough plays on FanDuel. And then I did want to kind of mention maybe how you want it to construct. Is Luka important tonight or is he not? And I'm saying that because essentially Luka is the one player on this slate that can just kind of go bananas. So is Luka important? Is Luka not important? I actually think in cash games he's important enough on FanDuel to go ahead and get him in, and because you're going to have salary relief, like I said, with all these other guys. Like Struss should give you some salary relief. Denny Avdia should give you some salary relief if you want to do that. I do think Luka is viable even on a back-to-back. In my opinion, he's still got more upside on this slate than anybody else, even outside of Joel Embiid, who you're getting a really nice discount on at center. I think I side with Luka because I feel like we have more center options than we do other upside plays in other spots. So that's my read on the slate for cash games. Roth, you got anything you want to add or questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I did have a few questions. Like, let's talk about Washington a little bit more in depth here. You mentioned guys like Abdia stepping up, but I think some character named Gill is starting, which I thought they were going to go with Gafford or like a different big man I wanted to play because Zinger's out. But now I don't know if I can play Gafford. I don't think I want to play Gill. What other guy? Goodwin, I think, is also there. Like, what other players on that squad are you looking at?
Yeah, so, I mean, Goodwin has been fine. He's been playing low 20s to mid 20s minutes for the past 2 games.
And he hasn't missed a shot. For what it's worth, those numbers that you're seeing are him literally never missing a shot.
Yeah, he went 7 for 7 last game, 4 for 7. But I think overall, I don't feel like Goodwin is that important, to be quite honest with you. I would probably side with Monty Morris with more minutes, because if this guy misses any shots, like, it won't matter. Like, he's not gonna. He's 5,200 now. If he was 3,500, Roth, we'd be having a totally different conversation. Like, he's priced up to Monty Morris pricing, who's going to play 30 plus minutes. No reason, I don't think, to play Goodwin over Monty Morris. Now, somebody I will say, I'll kind of go in reverse on this one. I actually think Gafford might be a better play than Gill here. For what it's worth, a proven commodity, a spot where we've been seeing him get 10 to 15 minutes, let's say. Tonight is probably a night he gets 20 to 25 minutes. That's my opinion based on Porzingis being out. If that's the case, Gafford is probably the one guy at 3,900 I'd be willing to roll the dice on. The problem on FanDuel is he's center only. So in my opinion, if you're playing Gafford, you're absolutely playing Luka, right?
100%.
Like that.
Yeah,
you have to do it. So that's kind of my swing there. Now, if you're not playing Luka, if you say, well, Chief, I don't really want to go that direction, then now I think we're getting into the area where you might just need to play Joel Embiid at center. Because tonight it's a 4-game slate. There's not a lot of guys that can be slate breakers. So your slate breakers are, I'm not going to include anyone from the Portland-New Orleans game because they're all reasonably priced. So when I'm talking about slate breakers, I'm talking about the expensive guys right now. So don't misconfuse that. Don't confuse that with me saying Anthony Simons can't put up 50. I'm talking about the expensive guys. So I think Embiid, you just go ahead and plug him in. There's still no James Harden. Him and Tyrese Maxey should be able to contend with the Atlanta Hawks, who are going to play pretty loose and free. And so if you're not playing Luka for your cash game build, I think you go ahead and play Embiid and just forget all about Daniel Gafford and Gill and this random collection of cheap centers. Like, just forget about it. Play Embiid and then build with the rest, the Simons, the Max Struss, Denny, Kyle Kuzma. And let me just say, I do think Dallas does play fairly good defense, but I still think Kuzma I think you need to play him tonight at 6,500. He should be taking shots galore.
Sure. All right. Let's talk about tournament builds, because you kind of prefaced this with that was your Andy Means hat, but we want your Chief hat. We want, the real, you want those tournament takes. And real quick, I want to start over on FanDuel because, of course, the FanDuel single entry series is back and popping. It's going on in NFL. Don't forget to reserve your entry at the $5, $33, $100 tier. Get in on the action, weekly and seasonal prizes. Sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Get their bonus offer, $5. You bet $5, get a free 3-month pass to NBA League Pass. So make sure you're doing all those things. Chief, talk to me about what we are doing on FanDuel.
Here we go. So now let's talk about tournaments. And let me just say, Roth, I did pretty much max enter the FanDuel big GPP they have last night. And, this is everybody's story, I know, but I legit had the takedown in hand. But I didn't play Payne last night. Payne I faded on purpose because I figured I thought he was going to be too high owned. And I said, well, he could end up with a 25-ish score, and that's not going to hurt me. Well, he ended up with 45, no problem. But I played 0 shares of Mikal Bridges, and that's what really cost me. No shares of Mikal Bridges cost me. I mean, Roth, I had almost every lineup through last night. I mean, almost every – and I said the Mikal Bridges just So either way –
were you still cashing? I mean, you played 150, so I assume you were still cashing even without those guys, right?
I still made a few bucks last night, man, I wanted the 100K. But either way.
We'll live to win another day, man. You get the 100K next time.
Yeah. There we go. So let's talk through tournaments here. So in tournaments, I kind of want to go a little bit of a different direction. I still like the Dallas pieces, but I feel like this is a spot We saw it last night, but it's not for last night. It's because this slate is small. I really like Spencer Dinwiddie for tournaments, and I think the rest of the world will too. Yes. So Spencer Dinwiddie is pretty much a staple for me on FanDuel for tournaments. Not a lock button, but a staple in terms of going over the field. I think we've got him projected around 25%. Last I checked, I'd probably be in the 35% range. I'm not saying we got to go like 50, 60, but around 35-ish% I think feels good in your builds. Another guy that I really like for tournaments, Rui Hachimura. He's at 35%. I'd be willing to probably go about 50 on Rui tonight because Rui's the guy that's going to come in. He's going to shoot the ball a little bit, and they might actually need him for his scoring. The last time he played 30 minutes against Philly, put up 30 fantasy points. I think we see something similar here. He's probably cash game viable as well, but I left him off because Rui's probably close to a lock button for me. Like close. I'm not going full lock button, but I'd be willing to double the field on Rui. We got him at about 35. I think 60-ish% in your MME bills is probably about right on target. If he goes for 30 on a 4-game slate at 4,200, trust me, he's going to pretty much end up there at the end of the night.
He is a lower usage guy, is he not? Or is it now that there's not as many options there, you just expect that to increase?
Yeah. No Beal, no Porzingis. Yeah. I don't think he's on the court as much with Kyle Kuzma in the first half. So I think Kuzma leaves, he comes in, and then I think him he kind of becomes the de facto go-to guy, if you will, in that second unit. In terms of, I'm going to move on to the Charlotte game because I do think this is a big spot for tournaments. On FanDuel, Kelly Oubre, just get him in. He's 5,700. Bam Adebayo, 7,700 against the Charlotte Hornets is a big-time play for me. You can get him at power forward or center. This one is not going to be popular, but I really like it. Terry Rozier, 8K, a little bit more expensive than he should be, but this guy has 50-plus fantasy point potential. And on a small slate where he may not be owned as much, I know we've got him at around 35%. I actually think he comes in lower than that. I don't see him coming at 35. I could be wrong. I don't see him coming at 35. I like Terry for tournaments a great deal. A guy that's going to take a lot of shots, play big minutes. I think Tyrese Maxey is good in tournaments tonight. I think DeJounte Murray. This is one where I'm overspending on purpose to get different. Nobody in the world should be playing DeJounte Murray tonight over Luka or over Joel Embiid. But I think this is where you get a little bit different. He's overpriced. You already know this, but he does have 60-point upside. So that's why you're doing it. To just get a little bit different from the field on a 4-game slate. And then if you come down to the last game here, looks like we don't hardly have any ownership on Jonas Valanciunas or Zion Williamson at 20%. Just bump it up and go over the field on guys like that against a Portland team that may not have Yusuf Nurkic. Those are kind of some of the tournament plays that I'm looking at tonight on FanDuel.
So do you think it's viable here? And I think this is what you were saying, that you can fade both for tournaments. You can fade both Embiid and Luka and go with more of like a middle tier build and have a completely unique build?
I think you can. What you're running the risk of, here's what you're saying if you go mid-tier. You're saying Luka doesn't go off for 80, and Embiid doesn't go off for 80.
If it's only two guys you're fading, that's doable.
On a 4-game slate, it's going to be a little nerve-wracking at first, especially if Luka has one of those first halves like last night where he's got like 40 at halftime. You're going to say, oh, no. Right. Oh, no. So, and then Luka ended with like 56. So my point is you're taking a risk when you do it, but I think Kuzma, Dinwiddie, Jimmy Butler even, Terry Rozier, this mid-range could yield the results you're looking for sure. Zion, once again, could definitely yield big results. And if you do that, but once again, you're fading if they start getting to 70 fantasy points, they're in. Like you already know, if you don't have them, goodbye, good night. So you're just hoping that they end up with a reasonable game. For a guy like Luka, you're hoping 55-ish fantasy points. Luka ends at 55 tonight at 12.5. He could still be optimal at the end of the night if everybody else wets the bed. But if the other guys do what they're supposed to, he's probably out of contention for a GP takedown. And that's what you're trying to bank on tonight.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's too crazy. I'm not doing it. I'm putting them both in. I'm going the other way, but just curious if that was a thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about DK here. And this is where I've got the build where I've somehow jammed in Luka, Embiid, and Kuz. And I just feel like the value's there for such a small slate. But tell me what you think if you want to go over cash, you can, or if you feel you've already covered that, you can just do tournaments.
Yeah, I do this a little bit different because Melton's a little bit more expensive on DK. He's $6K, and Spencer Dinwiddie is $6,200, and we've got them loaded in for cash. So Measy has them in the core. What I'm going to do is just say, hey, here's what I think we add to the core. You look at Anthony Simons at 8,100. Doesn't feel like a cash game play. You could probably find something better, but with no Damian Lillard, you need some scoring. And I think he's close, right? I think he's close enough. You go over to power forward position. Once again, nothing's going to change here with me. I do think Kyle Kuzma, even at 7,400, is cash viable tonight, just because of the opportunity he's going to have as long as the game is close. We've got Max Struss. Well, he's bumped up to 30 minutes here. Looks like I think the last update was about 10 minutes ago, a little over 10 minutes ago. So Max Struss is probably going to pop a little bit. Not as big of a deal on DK where he's 5,600. And then, of course, at center. So now it's where it gets interesting because you've got Gafford, you've got Gill, and I do think one of those guys will be okay. I like Mason Plumlee at center tonight as well as 5K on DK. But I think on DK, Rui is cash for sure. He's 4,100. Like, go ahead and get him in. I don't think you need to fade him in cash now that these guys are out.
Okay. Anything you want to talk about tournament-wise on DK that might be a little different, how your build's going?
Yeah, so in tournaments, I do feel like for me, I feel like the game stack on DK feels a little bit different. Because I look at it, so you got and my computer's running a little slow, so please forgive me here. But you've got not Gill, you've got Gafford that I think is viable on DK. He's 3,200 on DK, right? Like he's 3,200, and you've still got a utility spot, so I'm not completely locked in. So I think a Gafford, Rui Hachimura, Dinwiddie, Luka type build, like, and then you throw in Kuzma. I think that could work for tournaments. Like you've got kind of a 3-2 type thing happening, and then you just fill in around that. Now, I equally feel that way for the Hornets game, right? So you go over to the Hornets game, and you've got Terry Rozier, and you've got Bam Adebayo, those type of plays. So Terry's 86 on DK, but remember, we're talking tournaments right now. Bam Adebayo, 7,900. You can kind of mix and match some of these 2-1 type game stacks, build that around some of your other big game stacks. And on small slates, I do feel like the game stacks oftentimes may yield slightly good results because you can get a couple of these cheap plays from the same game and then plug and play a couple pieces, and voila, you've got a tournament takedown. So that's kind of what I'm looking at on DK. You can do the same thing on Fanduel as well. Price is a little bit different, so I've got some other guys that I want to play. But all in all, I do think that the game stack type build on DK tonight should yield some pretty good results.
Okay, very good. Anything else you want to talk about here, or shall we just kind of jump into the questions? We have about 8 minutes until lock.
Yep, questions, more questions.
Okay, let's do it. We should have plenty of time to get to just about everything. Note, as always, I am starting with the RG Discord, which is only one question in right now. So if you got questions, get them in. I'm also going to be jumping over to the YouTube because I imagine we will have time. Chief, you were talking about that game stack, option over on DK. Maybe my favorite lineup I've ever built all season right here. I've got that Mavs game stack going on with Embiid. And it just feels good. It feels strong, Chief. It feels like a tournament takedown is coming for your boy. So just giving you the full warning. Yeah.
Do it.
We're taking one down.
This feels like the old school JJ Barea days.
Yeah, just full stack, both sides of that game, and then give me the other best player available. Give me Embiid, just to like a little add in there. Okay, let's talk. DK Cash, Kuz Melton or Dinwiddie Harris?
That's a good one. Give me Kuzma Melton for the sake of those guys being out. Yeah, give me.
Very good. All right. Scrolling up just a wee bit here. Mr. Richard says, hey, with Hero out, how about that Miami value in DKMME? You mentioned Max Struess.
Yeah.
What other value do we have over there?
I mean, you got Gabe Vincent, you got Duncan Robinson. Yeah. Listen, man, I'm not thrilled about Duncan Robinson unless he's going to hit 7 3-pointers tonight. I'd probably be more inclined to get Gabe Vincent out of that group. I definitely think Gabe plays more minutes. Once again, I talked about the game stack. Like, I think Gabe is perfectly fine in that. You got Gabe, you take Mason Plumlee, you can take Jimmy Butler, you can take Terry Rozier, and piece that thing together. I don't mind Gabe at all.
Very good. Okay, Noel Huffman says, hey, nobody's playing DeJounte Murray, ? And this is what
I talked about DeJounte. Yeah.
Right. The price isn't right, but that means no one's playing him. And so that means for a tournament, maybe that is the right play.
Yeah.
Cloud says, hey, did Tucker get ruled out? I don't know. Did you see anything?
I actually don't care, to be honest with you. Like, PJ Tucker means nothing for my fantasy builds. Does that mean Daniel House or Gorgas Niang plays a little bit more? Maybe, but I won't care about that too much either. So yeah, there you have it.
Right. Well, it's not like even if he's out, like, oh, this means a lot more shots to go around because he doesn't shoot the damn ball.
Yeah. This just means Maxey, Melton, and Embiid are going to do everything, and Harris.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what else we got here. Mike 2333381 says, say FanDuel GPP. Oh, I like this. I'm jamming in Embiid, Luka, CJ, Simons. Do you have faith in the scrubs to be good enough to help me take down a tournament?
No. One of those guys got to go.
Okay. I do.
I think it would be
he's
CJ.
A lot smarter than me.
I think it would be CJ that had to go if I had to pick one.
Okay.
And then you balance it out and grab another 5 or 6K guy.
Okay, very good. J Sam says Josh Hart on FanDuel seems like he's going overlooked. Any interest in a little Hart over in single entry?
He's fine. I just don't like the fact that Josh Hart doesn't take enough shots. Like, we need him to get 8 or 9 rebounds, 5 or 6 assists, 2 or 3 steals, score 8 points. Like, man, like Josh Hart. So I don't ever mind hitting the X button on Josh Hart unless there's like nobody else available. When there's nobody else available, give me all the Josh Hart in the world.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Griffin says he didn't say a site or anything else, but Trey Hunter or Maxi Tobias.
Oh man. I think Maxi Tobias is the right call here.
Okay, nice. Aside, FanDuel Cash 3v3. This is Vincent, Maxi, and Jimmy Buckets, or Trey Simons, Eubanks, assuming Nurk is out.
Trey Simons, Eubanks, if Nurkic is out.
Okay, very good.
But I don't think we're going to get that before lock. So if you're afraid, roll with the other one because you're not going to have too many swaps late tonight.
Okay, that's a good note. All right, Carolina guy says your favorite stud in FanDuel single entry. I got the feeling it was Luka.
Yeah, got to be Luka. If I'm going one guy, the Doncic.
Yeah. Okay. NBA DFS says Maxi or Rozier FanDuel Cash.
Maxi and Cash, Rozier in tournaments.
Okay. This question's crazy to me. Just seeing it typed out kind of blows my mind. J Sam says, hey, Chief, do you like Luka with the over on his point prop total, which is 33.5, which is just an insane number for that to be what the total is?
I think I'm on just fade that prop altogether tonight. Like, let's find a better prop. But if you want to kind of look at what the great minds behind the screen are thinking, if you're a premium subscriber, just log into our premium projections. And our premium projections say we have Luka for 32.5 points tonight for what it's worth.
32.5. Okay. Yeah, I do love you've got the projection for how many fantasy points, but it breaks down how they will achieve that as well.
Yeah.
So this many points, this many rebounds, this many. It's really pretty cool little tool for some sports betting. Let's see what else we got here. DraftKings, Gafford or Kleba from Arnaldo Gutierrez.
Kleber's going to get more minutes. I'm still going Gafford here.
Yeah, Kleba's like sometimes he can get hot and he can pour in 4 or 5 threes. We saw it through some portion of the postseason, but sometimes he doesn't do a damn thing.
Yeah.
You don't know which one you're going to get. Noel says, hey, would you play Capella?
I mean, we're not going to see 19 rebounds tonight. I can guarantee you that. I think he's like I feel like he's a high floor, low ceiling play generally right now because of the minutes. So I think he's just fine. Like he's not going to hurt you. I don't know if he helps you.
Okay, that's good. K-Town's finest. You got to let me know where K-Town is because off the top of my head, I don't know. Sneaky DK tournament. Any interest in Barton?
Sure. Don't hate that at all.
Okay. Sean says, how about Rui, Denny, and Kuz? And
All
this
day.
is kind of, yeah. And this is my game stack where I'm bringing that back too.
Yeah.
Let's see. FanDuel GPP, Bam, Vincent, or Gafford Simons.
Ooh, God, that was tough. You're basically picking Bam or Simmons straight up. Give me Bam Vincent because of the matchup with Charlotte. It wouldn't surprise me though if Simmons and Gafford went off. But give me Bam Vincent for the matchup with Charlotte.
Okay, very good. We've got less than a minute until lock, and just like that, we've actually caught up on all the QQs. So, Chief, sir, you've done a wonderful job. Solo, you had to work with me solo, man, but you hung in there and you did a wonderful job.
Man, listen, it's all good. I'm glad to hang out with the Roth man anytime, especially when baseball season is done. Everybody loves the weather, man. When baseball season is over, that's just a little fun, having a little fun there with Roth. But man, I appreciate it. So glad to come hang out with you.
Yeah, hey, always. I'm a lot happier when baseball season's over too, because I don't have to stress about anything. It's not bugging me. So, yeah, I am always pleased to be talking some hoops. Let's see. By the way, K-Town says small town in South Texas, Kingville, Texas, which is just north of South Padre. So there you have it. That's K-Town's finest representing Kingsville, Texas. There, just north of South Padre. Hey, we've caught up on all the questions, and due to some car troubles by one of the many people included in this stream, we are going to get out of here right now because we've got a mini emergency ongoing. So for Chief, for myself, and for our wonderful production team, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.